In the last part 1 video, we discussed about maxillary landmarks in panoramic images. In this part 2, we will see mandibular landmarks, and in part 3, we will see soft tissue shadows and artifacts. Mandibular landmarks are easy to understand as there is less overlapping. Now we will take them one by one and in some cases discuss about its clinical significance in brief. In panoramic images, mandibular condyles appear to be slightly anterior-inferiorly shown by red arrows because patient has to slightly open and protrude the mandible to engage the positioning device in between his incisors shown by green arrow. Condylar head and neck are clearly seen and they are very good to assess cervical fractures of TMJ. Shape of the condyle is variable but is usually slightly corticated. As it goes down to meet ramus, it gets constricted and is called as neck of the mandible. Fracture of condyle can easily be seen. Usually a blow on anterior part of the mandible causes fracture of the body of the mandible, red arrow, and usually fracture of the condyle on contralateral side, yellow arrow, or it can be bilateral also. In case of suspicion, ask the patient to close and check occlusion. Patient will also show pain on occluding tightly on the affected condylar side. One of the advantages of panoramic radiography is that you can record both condylar fractures in one radiograph, and that too with less pain. Minimal movement of the jaw is needed to capture panoramic image, so the pain is less. In case of bilateral condylar fracture, one must check fracture in anterior mandibular central area, though it is not present here in this case. Coronoid process of mandible are easy to locate, seen on either side anterior to the temporomandibular joint. There is no clinical significance except in case of a fracture coronoid process, which is not common, and sometimes they superimpose on tuberosity, making that area slightly blurred as seen on the left hand side. Next important landmark is inferior alveolar canal. It is a dark tubular shadow running from ramus of the mandible up to mental foramen. It is very essential to know proximity of this with the tooth roots, as during extraction of these teeth, especially the third molars, if the root is too close to the inferior alveolar canal, it can cause damage to the nerve and in some cases permanent numbness on the lip. Nowadays, CBCT gives exact location of the nerve, as OPG can't show it as it is a two-dimensional picture, so overlapping is essential. If one border of the inferior alveolar canal is seen, as on right hand side in this OPG shown by white arrow, usually it is the inferior border of the canal. If a root is superimposed on inferior alveolar canal, the periodontal ligament space of that root appears to be darker and wider, giving a false appearance of periapical pathology as shown by white arrows. This happens because radiolucent PDL space superimpose on dark radiolucent shadow of the inferior alveolar canal. When two radiolucents is superimposed, they cast a darker shadow. Upper part of the ramus is thin and surrounded by two processes, coronoid on either side and condylar on the posterior side, and is separated by a deep concavity called as a sigmoid notch or mandibular notch. In older extraoral radiograph, this space was used to direct central beam to record other side of the TM joint. Antegonial notch is a concavity of the undersurface of the body just anterior to the angular process of mandible or gonion. The notch tends to be longer in congenital disorders than acquired, and ascending ramus is at more obtuse angle in congenital disorders. Canals usually rise to meet the mental foramen, often looping several millimeters anterior to the foramen, and it is very important while implant planning. Mental foramen appears more or less rounded with slight corticated border shown by yellow arrow. As mental foramen is opening oblique and upwards and backwards, it may not be seen at all in some cases, at least not clearly. Between the ramus and symphysis mentae is the body of the mandible. The body is the tooth-bearing area. Width of the cortical bone at lower border should at least be 3 mm in adults and of uniform density. Both sides must be checked for symmetry. Lower border of the body is usually smooth, corticated and evenly thick. In case of fractures, there is discontinuity of the border with so-called step formation seen on the left hand side of radiograph, and large lesions like cysts and tumors can thin out the lower border of the body as seen on your right hand side radiograph. Midline or symphysis mentae is a more radiopaque because mental protuberance and increased trabecular numbers makes it radiopaque. It can be also become more radiopaque because of attenuation of beam as it passes through cervical spine. Many modern panoramic machines automatically increases the exposure factor as they pass across the cervical spine region to minimize this opacity. Sometimes lingual salivary gland depression is seen as bilateral shadow around the midline. Sometimes bilateral radiolucencies are seen in angle area. It is due to presence of submandibular salivary gland depression or fossa on lingual side. Though it is normal, it looks cystic, so called as stiffness cyst, shown by yellow arrow. Now here is a cropped panoramic showing a radiolucent cavity which mimics a cyst. It is due to fossa created for submandibular gland, and since does not enlarge, it is also called as static bone cyst. One of the most easily identifiable landmark is external oblique ridge, which is seen as a radiopaque line running from anterior portion below the coronary process to the mandibular third molar area. It is seen bilaterally, which is shown by yellow arrows. Another landmark on either side of the symphysis is slight radiolucent shadow called as digastric fovi. This area is attachment of anterior belly of digastric muscle. In this part, we have mostly seen landmarks of mandible as seen in an orthopentamogram. In my next presentation, that is part 3, I will go in detail about soft tissue shadow and ghost images along with a bit theory part, which will be very interesting. This presentation I have prepared a month back, but I was aware everybody including myself were watching all webinars and getting more confused. This is my 16th video on YouTube. You can search YouTube for Dr. Rajiv Gadgil or go to my channel and website www.drrajivgadgil.com to watch all previous videos. Please subscribe to my channel, which is free, and for regular update it will be helpful. I hope all of you have started practicing. Take due care and work. May God bless you all and dentistry.